your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
You know, this might be, maybe just, kind of looking at it from just a different angle, but it sure seemed like there's an awful lot of Texas Tech involvement, more so than maybe other teams, and maybe it's just because I'm focused on it. But the Tech connections deep into the NCAA tournament, Jamie, are really kind of amazing when you think about, Malik Wilson playing for Houston, Namari Burnett and Vlad Golden playing for Michigan, Corey Williams, who was an assistant coach here at Texas Tech, is on the staff at Auburn, and then the whole, basically former Texas Tech staff at Ole Miss. I mean, it just goes to show you how, on one hand, how deep your basketball team has been over the last few years, and then obviously what the team itself did in going into the Elite Eight. But I'm not sure of any other program that had that kind of widespread disparity. I don't know if that's good or bad, because there's some bad in that, obviously, with coaches and players coming and going. But it is pretty amazing when you think about the different programs that your school and your program has kind of been involved with.
Yeah, probably a little bit of all the things that you mentioned there, as far as it's probably more, you focus on it more because it's Texas Tech. That's what you're noticing. But I think it's a transfer portal era. Guys are going to move around more, and so you're going to see more of that. And then you can add to the fact that you've gone through a bunch of coaches in recent years, and so guys are going to be spread out around the country because you've had all these different staff members.
Right.
Yeah. And so they're going to be getting jobs elsewhere, and some of those teams may do well in the postseason, and that's ultimately what we've seen happen. So, yeah, I think it's a combination of all that.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting, and I was like, there's Corey Williams, and there's this, and there's that, and there's this, but. And then
it'd be cooler if we just got coaches and players that came here and stayed here.
Yes, it would.
Won here.
That's no question.
But then we wouldn't be able to talk about how we were, got guys everywhere else. And that wouldn't be any fun.
I think it would be more fun the way that you're describing it first. It'd be more fun if everybody stayed here and played well together and then won together. And
no, that's the key. Winning together. Gotta win. Gotta win.
Winning together. It was impressive, though, in terms of how your team just kind of was. It felt like it was a team that was together almost from the beginning of the season in terms of how well they played together, just coming up a little bit short. Softball had a really good weekend. That's the one group that had a good weekend, Jamie.
Yep, absolutely.
They swept Kansas on Saturday in a doubleheader, so they're now 27-9. They're 8-1 in Big 12 play. They won 14-3 and 4-1. They played a doubleheader because of the weather, or what the weather was supposed to be like. And your weather in Manhattan on Sunday yesterday wasn't very good, was it?
It was cold, but it was fine.
Kind of but it was kind of misty
before the game.
Okay.
Yeah, none of that during the game. The sun came out and it was bright, sunshiny, and all that. It was cold, but high 40s.
Okay, so kind of typical March weather for probably what you've experienced up in those neck of the woods.
Much nicer than what we've experienced in the past.
Because you were talking about Friday and Saturday were pretty good, and then. Your star pitcher for the softball team, Nigeri Kennedy, throws her first no-hitter of the season, and that was on Friday as they run-ruled Kansas 9-0. So it continues to go well for the softball team. And I don't know if they'll go up. I don't know what the other teams did ahead of them, but they're ranked 13th in one poll and 14th in another. But the thing that's the most important is they're on top of the Big 12.
That's good to hear.
So there you go. As far as the Rangers are concerned, they're in their first weekend, and they took down the Red Sox yesterday 3-2. And Jacob deGrom went 5 innings, Jamie. 2 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Got through it. So that's a good start for him.
I would call that good. Yeah. And got through healthy and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like that was his 11th start since signing his $185 million contract. You are not in the Jacob deGrom train, are you? No, I am. I'm just pointing out.
You're waiting for this guy to fail.
No, I'm not. Not at all. Not at all. I want to see him. I want to see him be successful because.
Yeah, you've made me now become a big fan of Jacob deGrom. I'm rooting hard for this guy.
Just because I pointed out that he made his 11th start. I mean, that's the article that I read.
I mean, it seems like every time we bring up the Rangers, you're talking about, can Jacob deGrom stay healthy? Can he stay healthy?
Well, I think that
I think it's a legitimate question, but you're just kind of obsessed with it.
You think I've beaten it down beaten it too much,
Jeff?
It's not the term I would use. Relied on. Leaned on.
Oh, you think it's a crutch maybe for me?
One way to put it.
It's the thing you choose to focus on. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
Instead of focusing on that he went 5 really, really good innings, and continues to know how to throw the baseball when he's healthy, and could be a steal if he can stay healthy.
A steal. I don't think he's a steal.
I don't know if I can go with that.
Yeah, I don't think he's a steal.
He's Cy Young caliber.
Okay,
yeah, but
when healthy, he is Cy Young caliber.
How much is he making a year, Jeff?
It was a 5-year deal for $185 million. And so far, 2 years about waste.
And if he
that's
had
like
been
$35 million a year, Jeff, that's not a steal.
It is when you factor in that it's also his injuries that's got the contract that low. That'd be a $400 million contract if he'd been healthy the whole time. If it weren't a concern.
I'm going to make a pledge to you. I'm not bringing this up again.
I'm not the flag.
I am not bringing this up again. I'm just going to, from now on, it's going to be nothing but positive for Jacob deGrom through 7 innings.
Well, nobody asked you to do that.
No, I know.
I mean, if he throws bad, he throws bad.
You know.
And if he gets hurt, he will be getting hurt again for like the 7th straight season or whatever it is. But it's not always about him missing last season.
Okay. All right. Well, I will strive to be better.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Today is Monday, March the 31st, 2025. It's the end of the month. Here is Jeff McGuire with a Day in Sports History.
Starting in 1973.
Okay.
American tennis star Billie Jean King ends Australian Margaret Court's 57-match win streak with a 6-7, 7-6, 6-3 final in the semifinals of the WTA event in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yeah, it kind of went Margaret Court, then Billie Jean, then Chrissy, and you go from there.
Okay.
1986 in the 48th NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, Louisville beats Duke 72-69. It's the first tournament to use a shot clock, initially set at 45 seconds.
It was like
that seems so long.
And in those days, I mean, it was like, oh, that's really fast because we'd been so used to the four corners, offense of Dean Smith. They'd just sit on the ball, and you'd have these low-scoring, college basketball games. It really changed the game, the shot clock did.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of changing the game, 1994, Chicago White Sox assigned former NBA superstar Michael Jordan to the Birmingham Barons of Class A Double Southern League. He would return to the NBA a season later. Changed minor league baseball the entire year he was there.
You really did. I mean, because people wanted to go out and see him. And, well, they should have.
2002... Nick Blankship's 3-run homer helps Texas Tech earn 7 runs in the 8th inning in a 13-6 rout of visiting Missouri. And a year later, in 2003, Cincinnati Reds open up their new home, the Great American Ballpark, with a 10-1 loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Former President George H.W. Bush throws out the ceremonial first pitch. It is National Clams on the Half Shell Day, Oranges and Lemons Day, and Tater Day.
Tater tot or just taters?
Tater. Tater. Tater.
What's the difference?
When I think of taters, it's pretty much anything that is the potato.
Okay. I figured that's what you were going to say.
Like mashed taters, fried taters, baked taters.
Is there anybody in the world that says taters that doesn't have to do with tots? Does anybody say mashed taters?
Yes.
I don't.
They do?
Yes.
Do you?
Not all the time. I have in the past. I probably will so again in the future.
Okay. All right. Mashed taters.
That is usually how it is said, yes.
Fried taters? I think
If you went up to
people call those French fries.
Right. If you went up to the, fast food gal and said, I'll have some mashed taters with my quarter pounder.
Well, they're going to say, we don't have mashed potatoes here, sir.
I don't have mashed taters here.
Happy birthday to Ian McGregor, who's 54. Christopher Walken is 82. William Daniels, voice of Kit, is 98. And Shirley Jones is 91.
Shirley Jones is still alive. The Partridge Family, huh?
That is how that works, yes.
Wow.
And in 1889, an event that Chuck Heinz would have loved to have been at for all the hands he got to shake, Eiffel Tower is dedicated in Paris with a ceremony presided over by Gustave Eiffel, the tower's designer, and the French Prime Minister, along with a handful of dignitaries from over 200 countries.
Oh, man, that would have been awesome to be at.
And that is this day in sports history.
Thank you, Jeff. Here's a fact that I did not know until just the other night, and I don't know how I stumbled upon it. The Eiffel Tower, the guy that built it, Gustave Eiffel, built himself an apartment up there. Okay.
Okay.
But the apartment had no bathroom.
That's weird.
Yeah. Well, it would have been hard to get plumbing to the top of the Eiffel Tower probably in 1897.
So he built the apartment but didn't really live there.
Right. It was, I think, probably something for him just to have a study or something along those lines.
It is an interesting history of what the many uses the Eiffel Tower has had other than just being a structure in Paris. And not just a tourist attraction. Mm-hmm. Like it's been cell phone tower host and a radio tower host, and like it's done all of these different things as the technology has changed to be a relevant building while also being the icon of France, or I should say Paris.
Iconic thing, yeah. If you went to Paris, Jamie, would that be on your list to go to the top?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
If it's not, why go to Paris? Go to Paris, Texas at that point. Then you can say you went to Paris. If you're not going to Paris to see the Eiffel Tower, go to Paris, Texas.
There's plenty of it.
I think there are probably other things you could do.
Yeah.
In the Louvre in Paris. Don't you want to go to that museum? I mean, that's what I would have to, if I was there. You'd have to say you went there, right? I would.
But why go to Paris if you're not going to see the Eiffel Tower?
No, I just was asking a question.
That's like coming to Lubbock and not seeing the Buddy Holly glasses.
No, I think there's probably plenty of people that come to Lubbock.
Right, and they fail miserably by not going to go see one of our structural icons in the city.
And go to the Buddy Holly Museum and all that kind of stuff, right? All those things. Let's see here. This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Sure, it's stealing by DeGrom. Bullfighter, as the resident Texas Rangers fan, thanks, Chuck. I appreciate that. Okay, I'll stay away from that. This DeGrom and Josh Young are oft injured players. That's just something you have to know when you have them on your roster. Yeah, Josh has got a stiff neck, which is, I guess, a carryover from spring training because he missed the last few games of spring training because of a stiff neck. Man.
Yeah, there was a play that I think factored into it as well that happened just recently. So, I don't know if it just re-aggravated the injury or what. Just hate it for him.
Yeah,
just hate it.
He's on the 10-day injured list as of right now. We'll have the high school fan zone for you on the air tonight. That'll be at 6. Coaches from Coronado, Estacado, Lubbock High, and Monterey High School will come pay a visit. And then the Astros and the Giants from Houston And then we'll have Texas Ranger baseball today. They're on the road in Cincinnati. Tomorrow, the Red Raiders will take on Oklahoma in Frisco. I love that they're playing. Would you love it more, Jamie, if it was home and home, like if you played a midweek there and then a midweek here, like, let's just say a Tuesday night and a Wednesday afternoon game? Or is that too much to ask?
No, I mean, you could do that. You absolutely could do that, where you could get two in. Yeah, absolutely, and play home and home. That would maybe every other year you do it. So you play two at one place and then two at the other place the next year, something like that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I like the fact that they're doing it, and this is probably coach initiated because both these guys obviously are friends and have known each other, in a long, long time. And Coach Tadlock and their coach go way back. So I'm glad they're doing that, and I wish that more schools would do similar things like that, whether it's football or basketball, because obviously it's a strong team. And you've been a strong team over the years, so it's no gimme win for either school. So I'm glad that they're doing that. Somebody brings up the Arch Day Triumph. I was trying to think of the name of that thing, but I couldn't. So I appreciate the thing that they go through when they're riding the bicycles on the,
Yep, that'd be cool. Mm-hmm.
In the what, Chuck?
Tour de France.
Hey, there it is. That one's the easy one. Like,
right. I couldn't remember the name of that thing, though. I could see it in my head. Mm-hmm. The big arch thing.
Yeah.
I could see it. I just couldn't remember.
I was talking about the race that you couldn't remember the name of.
Well, I was just...
The arch has a weird name. Like, that takes a minute to remember. Mm-hmm. But the Tour de France.
Oh, I know. The Tour de France.
The bicycle thing.
The bicycle thing. Well, sometimes it's Monday, Jeff.
It is Monday.
It's Monday. It was
a bad weekend.
It was a bad weekend. We're all trying to kind of just get through it today, as you kind of still have a little bit of mourning going on from what took place on Saturday with the Red Raider basketball team, and then over the weekend with baseball as well, and just what's going on in general there. So if you have a thought, comment, Yates Flooring Center chat line, hit us up there. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app for that. Visual Edge IT hotline, it is open too at 806-771-0973.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. All right, the reason I feel better about McCaslin than Beard when they reached a similar level of success is because Beard seemed to get caught up in it, getting highly rated recruits and transfers, but it never worked after the Final Four run. Well, he's only here another year. It feels like McCaslin moves a bit slower and finds the right guys for his program and then gets the most out of them.
I think Coach McCaslin did an awesome job this year with mixing the right guys together. Mm-hmm. I can't disagree with anything that was said there. Yeah. Again, if you're... How do I make this make sense? If you're shopping from the nicest stores, there's a better chance that your fit is going to pop than if you're shopping from the discount store.
Right?
Yeah,
sure.
Okay?
Sure.
So when you're able to pick really good players, mm-hmm. there's a reason they're really good players, right?
Yeah.
You'd like to think you're picking guys that are really talented, but also that you feel can mesh together with other players. And so Coach McCaslin has the terrific job. You could go to the really nice store and buy a great shirt.
Sure.
And you could go buy a great pair of pants, but if the shirt and pants don't match, your fit's not going to be popping, Chuck.
No, it's not. It's not.
And so you're going to be like, dude, you're clashing.
You're clashing. Right?
Yeah.
It's bad to clash.
So what I think Grant McCaslin is good at doing is I think he just did a terrific job with being a a chemist.
Okay.
He's not only a stylist, but a chemist.
He's not shopping at the store where they have the Garanimals where you match this tag with this tag.
No, he was a good chemist this year. He's got them to buy into his system.
Absolutely, yeah.
And fit into his system. So he's picking the right guys, and he gets them to buy in and play well together, and that's the key thing. And so the best coaches now, all the best coaches in the country that have the NIL support that Grant McCaslin all have the same challenge. And so some of them aren't doing it as well, okay? And there'll probably be certain years where it doesn't blow up. It doesn't go great, and it blows up. Yeah, I don't know. That's just the way college sports is going to be.
Exhibit, so to speak.
Right. But I think Coach McCaslin did an awesome job this year bringing in a guy. And really, it's been over the last 2 years, as he's churned this roster, getting guys to fit his system and to buy into what he's selling them.
And then if you don't fit into the system quite right, then that particular beaker is removed from the science table.
I assume, and during the off season, yes, that would be the case.
Yeah. When you said Pop, I was like, I wonder if he's like thinking about Pop Isaac. But you just said,
I hear he's back in the portal.
He is back.
So he's available.
He's back in the.
If we're interested.
My guess is that we would not be.
I also heard his dad's taking credit for guys that we've recruited, so that's great too.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that on the X? Is that what's out there?
I think somebody said that was on the X. Yeah.
Okay. Washed Up Guy has this observation. Let me see what you think about this. I hear players and coaches talk about how they play and coach for each other, in quotes, and how much love and admiration they have for, quote, each other. What I don't believe that I've ever heard is how much any player has love for Texas Tech. What do you think? Is that something that's overlooked? Is that something that's just is that something that's kind of a real thought to think about?
I'll let you answer first.
Well, that really hadn't stood out to me. I would love to think that they have love for the university. Okay, my immediate reaction to that is that there's probably more love for each other and their teammates and their coaches than there is for the university, and that might be transferred to any university that would be willing to put them in a similar position. But the hope for me is that, and this might be altruistic, is that they have love for the university and where they're playing and who they're playing for and the name on the front of the shirt. I
saw Chance McMillan tweeted out the other day that, I don't know, like love your Red Raider Nation or something yesterday.
That's good. Yeah.
Something. I think that's gone.
You think that aspect is gone?
I think it's gone. I mean, for certain sports, right? I mean, you just have to accept they didn't pick here because of the university.
Yeah, they picked here. Well, they might have picked here because of the coach might have had some aspect. Hopefully, hopefully the coach still has some influence in that, and the style of play I think is big as well, and maybe the opportunity to win is as well. But
I definitely think all those things factored in. Yep, absolutely. But the main reason is, I mean, the finances are a huge factor, right? And it would be for us too.
Yeah,
we were in those same situations. Doesn't mean they don't like it here, or that they're, man, I can't wait to get out of this place. I just want the money. I'm not saying that at all. And I think some of the guys probably do sit down and go, man, it's like when you see those atmospheres that we have over there for those games, they're like, man, this is really cool playing here. That was a lot of fun.
Especially when they go to other places and don't necessarily see that.
Yeah. So I'm sure they appreciate it, but I don't know. But let's go back even to over the history of time when you would hear guys talk about, man, I love playing with these guys. I'm going to miss playing with these guys. You didn't always hear guys going, man, I love my university. Mm-hmm. Even back in the day, you didn't necessarily hear that. Yeah. So it's just different now, and you just have to come to accept it.
Because some of them didn't necessarily have the greatest experience at said university, whether it was how they were treated or how they were how they played, or all those types of things. So there's always going to be going to be factors.
It's a different world of college sports.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see here. Having backers who are willing to spend allows McCaslin to have a bigger pool of players to choose from to find his type of player. He says there's a good article on CBS. I've not seen this about Toppin, how Rodney Terry went hard after Toppin. Button was seemingly in the mix, but because the backers with money did not back him as a coach, they would not pony up money to get him. Okay. Well, we'll see how they do with Sean Miller. I just don't think that's going to work down there.
No,
I don't. I don't think he's one of them. Just feel like that. He's a way outsider.
Not one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, would we have said Grant McCaslin was one of us when he came here?
Well, I mean, he at least had been here before. He was on James Dickey's staff as his basketball ops guy. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, but you would say that you could say this about Grant McCaslin versus Sean Miller. He had recruited the state of Texas extensively.
Yes, absolutely.
As a coach at Baylor and as a coach at North Texas, and that's part of what I mean is that there's a cultural aspect to it too that Sean Miller is going to have to adjust to, that Grant McCaslin didn't have to adjust to.
If the University of Texas is only going after a coaching pool of guys that were one of them, that would be dumb on their part.
I'm just telling you, I don't think it's going to work.
It may not, but I don't think it's because he's not one of them.
No, I think once he loses a few games, they go, hey, he ain't one of us. You're gonna.
Cliff Kingsbury was one of us, and when he started losing games, what did we say? I don't care that he's not that he's one of us. We just want to win games.
I know it took a little while to get there, though. Let's see. Tell them that you had to cut back on their NIL, and you'll see how much love they have for the team, coach, and institution. I think that's a fair statement. I'm
not telling them.
Yeah, it's not my job, right?
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, today's evil question of the day from Jamie is kin to which child do you love best, Chuck?
Okay.
Here's my question for you today. You get to choose to bring back 2 of the 3 names that I mentioned for your men's basketball team.
Okay.
The 3 names are JT Toppin, Darian Williams, and Christian Anderson. You only get to return 2 of those guys. Which 2 are you bringing back?
When you said that, I'm like, okay, I know that 2 of those names are going to be there, and the third one was kind of who I thought. I'm bringing back JT Toppin and Christian Anderson because I feel like those are the 2 guys that gutted it out for you day in and day out. And I realized that Darian Williams was terrific for you, but just kind of feel like there were some times where he wasn't available. And so that's who I'm going with. I'm going with Christian, and I'm going with JT.
I'm going to attack this a different way.
All right.
Because I think Toppin turns pro as opposed to not coming back. And with him turning pro, you get that moniker that you've put guys in the NBA, which helps you recruiting and, gets more attention for you. So that's going to help Tech, bringing you
way to look at it.
Williams and Anderson back.
Williams and Anderson.
Because Toppin's going to the National Basketball Association.
The National Basketball Association. I haven't heard anybody call it that in a long time.
I haven't either.
I said it in the National Football League.
You hear that all the time.
Yeah, sure. This one's really hard. I want to factor in here that Christian Anderson is younger. Okay. And feel like that makes sense to me to want the younger guy because you're going to have him for more years. But there's no guarantee of that. There's no guarantee of that.
Right.
I also think guards are easier to come by. Really good guards are easier to come by. And so I agree with what you said, and I
With what I said?
with what Chuck said, yes. Yeah, I agree with what Jeff said too. Okay. I agree with what you said in that the other guys that Darian Williams wasn't always available, and it felt like that was something that annoyed Grant McCaslin. Okay? And so there's that question there to me, but Darian Williams is your closer. I mean, he's your guy that, like, in the clutch, wants the ball, not afraid. I also think he's a terrific facilitator. So I got to keep Darian Williams. I would tell you he's not my favorite of the three. Okay, I love Christian Anderson's game. He would be my favorite of the three. Just fun guy to watch play. But man, I think I got to go Darian Williams and then JT Toppin. And so the guy that is truly the one that I like, he's my favorite. I think I have to let go just because I think it's easier to replace guards.
Yeah, somebody on the chat line agrees with you. Easier to replace Toppin. Anderson. Got to keep Toppin in D5. The question doesn't say who do you think will be back. It's which would you keep if you could keep two of the three. The NBA isn't going anywhere. Okay.
I want to put people in the league.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, maybe if he stuck around a year, Jeff, he would have a better chance to stick in the NBA.
Yeah.
We don't want to just put him there. We want him to stick there.
Do you think that another year would help both those guys, Williams and Toppin, at the collegiate level?
Would it help those guys? Okay, so what part of...
Take the money component out of it.
No,
Would it
okay.
be,
Yeah. Okay, what part of Darian Williams' game do you think could improve?
You know, I there's a part of me that feels like the NBA game is just completely different than the college game.
Not completely, but yeah, I mean, they still put a ball through a hoop and all that stuff, but it's definitely different.
I don't know, maybe his outside shot, you know.
I don't know what this percentage is, but I feel like he shoots it decently well.
Maybe some bulk and some strength.
For Darian Williams, he needs bulk.
Maybe just a little bit of strength. I don't know.
I mean, dude's going to rip out of his shirt there. He's going to become the Hulk if he gets any bulkier.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I think Darian Williams is who he is. I don't think maybe
he gets any better.
Maybe he can improve his outside shoot. Maybe he can extend his range a little bit more. That would be one thing that I can think of. I think he's a great college player. I don't know how his game translates to the next level. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm just not sure. But then again, he reminds me of a guy like PJ Tucker, who's had a nice long career in the league. You know, big physical 3, kind of 4. Although Williams, I don't think he can defend the 3. So I don't know where he fits in the NBA. I look at JT Toppin and I feel like he could improve his stock. He could handle getting thicker. Okay? He could become a better outside shooter. He's shown that he's decent at it. They haven't asked him to do it too much, which I like. I mean, he's slithery inside, and you want him inside doing his thing. He could improve his going to his right hand a little bit more. Okay, so I think JT Toppin has a chance to get better by coming back for another year. I think that Darian Williams, his game just kind of is what it is at this point, and it's a really good game. I'm not saying it's not. I just don't know how he translates to the next level.
So let me ask you this: If all things were equal, if take the money component out of it, would it be better for those guys to get drafted, let's just say whether it's late first round, early second round, and go play G League games with the opportunity for 10-day contracts to move up from time to time, than to come back and play college basketball for another year? Because my feeling would be it would be better for them to be drafted, whether it's late first, early second, go play G League, get the NBA Summer League experience, all those to get into the system so they could adjust their bodies, their style to the NBA level. But the money component is way out of whack because the G League guys aren't making anything compared to what they could make coming back and playing college basketball another year, even though it might be better for them long term to go G League with the opportunity to play some NBA games, i.e. what Kevin McCullough's been doing and what Jamias Ramsey's been doing.
Yeah, I don't know if that's debatable if they never really find a home with an NBA team.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Great to have you with us today here on the Morning Drive. Come to you from the First United Bank studio. And look forward to continually hearing from you on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to doublet973.com for that, of the mobile app. Visual Edge IT hotline is open too at 806-771-0973. We'll have baseball on the air for you today. Up first, it'll be the Rangers and the Cincinnati Reds from Cincinnati. That'll be at 5 o'clock with play-by-play at 5:30. And then we'll have the High School Fan Zone at 6 tonight on 100.7 The Score. Coaches from Coronado, Estacado, Lubbock High, and Monterey High School coming on from 6 to 7:30. And then the Astros and the Giants from Houston tonight at 7:30. We'll join that right at first pitch tonight as far as the Astros and the Giants are concerned. They don't call them the G-Men like they do the New York Football Giants, do they?
No, they do not.
I don't ever hear that. I don't hear them.
I think that's a football thing.
Specifically, just a football thing. Okay, well, maybe they did when they were the New York Giants, like way back in the day, before they moved to San Francisco.
Maybe they did.
I was going to look at this real quick, and I should have before, but I was wondering if this is Cincinnati's home opener. I think it is. Let's see. Nope, the Reds were at home this weekend to the San Francisco Giants. Okay. So the Giants, wow, that's wild. The San Francisco Giants go from Cincinnati to Houston, and the Rangers go from Arlington to Cincinnati.
That's wild.
It is wild. I mean, at some point in time, and maybe it doesn't. Maybe economics doesn't really matter, but at some point in time, you would think that they would be a little more economical about, teams going from one city to the next, more like travel partners to cut down on costs, fuel costs, things like that. But maybe that doesn't really matter that much on the major league level. Okay, some things here from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Jamie, any idea why Coach Tadlock didn't turn to Parker Hutera? Will Jordan, not that you have honestly had many chances, but don't think this team has a closer. And Jamie addressed this earlier, but I want you to, because we have new folks coming in all the time. This is the game yesterday when you were up 4-2 going into the 9th against K-State.
So Parker Hutera had been up in the 8th inning in case he was needed, and he was not. And Trendon Parrish got out of that inning pretty easily, and I think that you going to the 9th, my assumption was either Parker will start here in the 9th or he'll wait to see if Trendon gets in any kind of trouble, and then he will come in. You gave up the leadoff double on a 2-strike pitch to a guy who picked up his first hit of the weekend, and I felt like at that point you would go to Parker Hutera. You hit the next batter, and I felt like at that point you would go to Parker Hutera. And the next guy was walked, and I felt like at that point you would go to Parker Hutera.
Right.
Okay, so you're seeing what I'm getting at here. My only guess, Parker is your closer, and he's been good. Okay, he's been really good. I can only guess, and I hate to guess and assume when it comes to talking about injuries or whatever that somewhere along the way, because I mean we cannot you can in the visiting bullpen you can't see who's throwing. There's a wall in front of you. You can see that there's a ball going, and you can see that there's a catcher, but you can't see who's throwing it. Okay? But the TV broadcast did show Parker Hutera throwing in the bullpen, okay, and warming up, right? And Gus was watching that on his phone, and so we could see that. I don't know why Parker didn't come into the game unless he, at some point while warming up, said, I can't go. And meaning that the arm hurts or my back hurts or my knee's killing me or something, okay? Sure, we'd guess it wouldn't be like I got a tummy ache. If that was the case and you knew it before the game, well, then you plan accordingly. Okay, we're going to have this guy in this situation, right? You kind of have a plan, right? Why are you smiling over there?
I was just looking at the chat line. Sorry, while I was listening to you.
Okay. So unless Parker, who was warming up in the previous inning, was getting ready and he was about to be ready, and then all of a sudden, 4 or 5 pitches before they want to go to him, he says, I can't go. Because at that point, now it's almost too late. You didn't have somebody else warmed up and ready to go. Mm-hmm. And so you were making me really uncomfortable with this big smirk on your face.
I'm sorry.
I don't know what you read on the chat line that was so funny.
It was that and the fact that you said tummy ache. That also kind of gave me a little chuckle too. Okay. Sorry. I don't mean to have a smirk on my face. I'll try to wipe that smirk off my face.
I have every question that every other Red Raider fan has today. And my only guess is that Parker Hutera could not go, because I don't understand why you wouldn't have gone to him in that situation. I would tell you. And
then nobody else was ready to go that quickly then, because you'd had Hutera up, right? Because
even if you didn't have Hutera, then you would have thought you would have had somebody else ready, whether it be Will Jordan, whether it be, and ultimately went to Zach Crotchfeld for the very last batter, okay? And you had faced a pinch hitter that was left-handed, so Zach clearly wasn't ready to go at that point. I don't know. I have all the questions that you guys have. My only guess is that something came up with Parker's health. That's the only thing. He was up and throwing, and so he would have been ready. It came up, not just came up like, obviously it puts you behind the 8 ball on Friday when, I guess I found out middle of the day that Mac's not going to start today. Okay. They feel like in the best interest of him, he needs to take a week off. Okay. I've always appreciated that this coaching staff worries about kids' futures and not just about winning one game on one day. Okay. And I think that's the right way to be. But that you could at least, okay, we've got some hours to plan for this.
Sure.
I feel like if there was an injury to Parker, it must have come at the worst possible time. Like, we're ready to go to him. Oh, no, we can't go to him. And now we're scrambling. And it, ultimately cost you dearly. And
frankly, the more that you explain that, the more sense that makes. Not that you're going to get any announcement from Texas Tech that he was injured and couldn't pitch. Now, you might hear that he's not available this week or might be available this weekend, and then that would tell you all that you need to know from Sunday, from yesterday. Well, it sounds like you have a pretty good handle on that.
I have no idea. That is 100% every bit of it speculation.
No, I understand that, but it makes a whole lot of sense, though, what you're saying.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.